We open on a vast empty desert, barren land as far as the eye can see, not a soul in sight. But sitting right in the middle of all that emptiness is a stunning, isolated house. And cutting through the silence comes the thrum of a helicopter, descending and landing just outside. Out step two people, Richard and Jennifer. Richard is wealthy, powerful, and married. Jennifer is his secret girlfriend, and this remote desert house, their private escape for the weekend, far away from the life Richard has built with someone else. After they land, the pilot hands Richard a little welcome gift, a packet containing a drug called peyote, something to help them unwind. The two settle in and begin enjoying their time together, wrapped up in each other, completely alone, or so they think. The next morning Jennifer wakes before Richard and wanders to the kitchen, looking for something to eat. The fridge has nothing but wine bottles, so she grabs some water and helps herself to fruit from the table. But as she's eating, she glances outside and freezes. Two men are standing there, rifles in hand, staring at her with expressions she can't quite read. She calls for Richard. He comes out, takes one look, and opens the door with a smile. These are his friends, Vincent and Dimitri. Richard introduces Jennifer to them simply as a friend who came along to visit. Nothing more, nothing less. That night the four of them sit together and talk. Vincent and Dimitri notice the peyote sitting on the table, and Richard explains what it is. A powerful drug that completely kills the sensation of pain, and in high enough doses, can actually be fatal. He asks Jennifer to put it somewhere safe. She takes it inside, and tucks it away inside her locket, close to her body, hidden. Then she comes back out, and starts dancing. And Vincent, who has barely taken his eyes off her since he arrived, gets up, and joins her. He's already infatuated. You can see it. But before anything happens, Richard steps in, wraps his arms around Jennifer, and carries her off to their room. The next morning, Richard is gone, stepped out for some work. Jennifer comes outside to find Vincent having breakfast. He tells her about Richard, and mentions that Dimitri had too much to drink the night before, and is still sleeping it off. Jennifer sits down, and checks her phone, but she can feel Vincent watching her, staring. She tells him she needs to head home, and goes inside to change. Vincent follows her in. Jennifer pulls her clothes on quickly when she sees him, but he sits down next to her anyway, close. He says he wishes they could spend more time together. He asks what she finds attractive in a man. Jennifer looks at him flatly, and says she likes tall men. He's way too short. She gets up to leave, but he grabs her. He starts saying things, graphic, disgusting things, and then he puts his hands on her. Dimitri walks in on it. He sees everything. Vincent tells him to get out, and Dimitri, without a word, turns around, walks outside, and turns up the volume on the TV. Then he goes and showers like nothing is happening. Jennifer screams, and no one comes. Vincent leaves only after he's done what he came to do. When Richard returns a little while later, he finds Vincent and Dimitri sitting in heavy silence. He asks what's wrong. Vincent tells him Jennifer's upset. Richard goes inside and finds her crying. She looks at him and tells him to call the helicopter. Right now, she wants to go home. And then she tells him everything. Every detail of what Vincent did to her. Richard goes out and shouts at Vincent, scolds him hard. And then he comes back to Jennifer. He tells her everything is taken care of. He's already moved money into her account, a lot of it. He's lined up a good job for her in Canada. All she has to do is forget any of this ever happened, come with him, and start fresh. Jennifer doesn't move. She wants to go home. She tells him if he doesn't call that helicopter right now, she will call his wife and tell her everything. That's when Richard snaps. He slaps her, hard across the face. Then he leans in close and tells her in a low, cold voice that she should never, ever dare to breathe a word of this to his wife. Jennifer runs. She bolts out of the house, barefoot, into the desert. Richard runs after her, then Vincent, then Dimitri, all three of them chasing her across open ground. Jennifer doesn't stop. She keeps running until the land gives way beneath her feet, and she finds herself standing at the edge of a steep cliff drop, teetering on the edge, staring down into the dark below. Richard calls to her, soft now, apologetic. He says he's sorry about the slap. He promises he'll call the helicopter this instant. He picks up Vincent's phone and actually does it, telling the pilot to be there within 30 minutes. He talks her down. Jennifer begins to calm, and then he pushes her. She goes over the edge, falls, and at the bottom, a shattered tree branch drives straight through her abdomen. Richard turns to the other two. I did what I had to do to protect all of us. If she had walked out of here, we'd all be looking at 15 years behind bars. If anyone asks, you don't know anything. We came here to hunt, same as every year. They walk back to the house, burn every piece of evidence that Jennifer was ever there, and prepare their weapons. And down in that ravine, ants begin crawling across Jennifer's body. But she is still alive. She reaches for her lighter with whatever strength she has left. She gets it. She holds the flame to the dry wood of the broken tree, and as the fire weakens the branch, she pushes herself free and lowers herself to the ground, shaking, bleeding, but moving. She hears an engine. They're coming. Jennifer drags herself to a large rock and presses her back against it, staying completely still as the three of them roll past. When they reach the spot and find her gone, panic hits them fast. Vincent, rattled, says it isn't too late. They can find her, take her to a hospital, say it was an accident. Richard rounds on him like a blade. Say one more word and I'll take your head off. This is your fault. We have no choice now. We find her, and we end this. They split up. Vincent stays near the river, while Richard and Dimitri fan out in different directions. Jennifer, meanwhile, is in agony. The wood splinter is still inside her. She forces herself to keep moving, but then she spots headlights heading straight toward her. Dmitri. She drops and hides, barely breathing, as he passes. The moment he's gone, she moves again. Then Dmitri stops his vehicle to relieve himself on the side of the road. Jennifer moves silently up behind him and takes his rifle. She pulls the trigger. Empty. No bullets. Dmitri spins around, overpowers her, and knocks her to the ground. He radios Vincent. I've got her. Vincent lets out a long breath of relief and reaches over to play some music. Just another night. Dmitri drags Jennifer to the river and holds her head underwater, watching her thrash. But somewhere under the surface, Jennifer's hand finds his knife. She pulls it free. She drives it straight into his eyes. Dmitri screams. He convulses, and then he goes still. Jennifer pulls herself out of the water, knife in hand. Dmitri's body sinks below the surface. She takes his vehicle and drives. She makes it a few kilometers before the tank runs dry. She abandons the car, walks to a nearby cave, and starts a fire. She empties Dmitri's bag, a few supplies and one beer can. She drinks it. She hasn't had anything for hours. But the pain is unbearable. The wood is still inside her, and she breaks down crying, until she catches the glint of her locket, the peyote. She had hidden it there herself. She takes it. It hits slowly at first, a wave of strange sensation, and then the pain disappears completely, like a switch has been flipped. She picks up the knife. She opens the wound wider with steady hands, feels nothing, and pulls the splinter out. Blood pours from the opening. She cuts the beer can in half, heats the metal in the fire, and presses it against the wound. It seals. The bleeding stops. She sleeps. By morning, Vincent is dozing in his car, when Richard hurls a dead animal onto the hood, jolting him awake. Vincent stumbles down to the river to splash water on his face, and Dmitri's body rises to the surface right in front of him. He screams, scrambles back, sits in his car, shaking, and turns all of that fear into rage directed at Jennifer. Richard examines what's left of Dmitri. The knife wounds, the eyes, and he understands. Jennifer isn't running anymore. She's hunting. He stuffs stones into Dmitri's clothes, and they sink the body back into the river. Then Vincent starts pointing fingers at Richard, telling him this is all on him. Richard responds by breaking his nose with one punch. Vincent crumples. They get back in their vehicles and keep searching. Jennifer wakes to find her wounds sealed, a strange permanent scar in the shape of the beer can stamped into her skin. She picks up the rifle, steps out of the cave, and Richard is standing right there, gun up, aimed directly at her. Jennifer has nowhere to go. Richard fires. But then, we discover. It turns out, Jennifer had been dreaming. All of it. A vision. And now as she snaps back to consciousness, her wounds have healed. She gathers her weapons, steps out into the open air, and raises her binoculars, scanning the terrain in every direction, trying to locate Richard and Vincent. Meanwhile, Richard and Vincent have found Dmitri's abandoned vehicle, the one Jennifer had taken and left behind when the fuel ran dry. But there's no sign of Jennifer anywhere. Richard pulls Vincent aside and lays out the plan. They split up, cover more ground, and meet back at the same spot. Richard takes a bike and heads east. Vincent starts checking himself in the side mirror, examining his wounds. And that's his mistake. The reflection catches the light at just the right angle, and from her vantage point, Jennifer spots him. She locks onto his position. When Vincent rides out, Jennifer follows. A little further down the road, Vincent's vehicle runs out of fuel. He pulls over and steps out to refuel. Jennifer raises the sniper rifle and fires. She misses the kill shot, but the bullet buries itself into Vincent's shoulder. He staggers. By the time Jennifer moves in to check, Vincent is already gone from beside the car. She follows the trail of blood on the ground. But Vincent is smart enough to know what she's doing. He pulls off one of his shoes, strips the sock, and wraps it tightly around his wound, cutting off the bleed. The trail dries up. Jennifer pushes further ahead, searching, but the blood stops leading anywhere. She's lost him. Vincent, meanwhile, has climbed up onto a rocky ridge and gone completely still, watching her from above. Jennifer walks right past his hiding spot. The moment she's beyond him, he climbs down and fires at her from behind. He misses the kill shot too. The bullet grazes her ear and keeps going. Jennifer doesn't stop. Vincent gives chase, firing again and again, but not one bullet connects. And then Jennifer does something calculated. She smashes her torch and scatters the broken glass across the path behind her. Vincent, closing in fast, doesn't notice it. He steps right into it. A shard punches through the sole of his shoe and into his foot, and he hits the ground screaming. He manages to dig it out. Limping, teeth gritted, he drags himself back to the vehicle and drives after her. Jennifer hears the engine. She knows exactly what's coming. She stops, plants herself in the middle of the road, raises her gun, and waits. Vincent's headlights come into view. She fires. First shot, miss. Second shot, miss. Vincent is almost on top of her. Third shot, right between the eyes. Vincent's car rolls to a stop. He's dead before it does. Jennifer takes his vehicle and disappears into the desert. Back at the rendezvous point, Richard is waiting. He waits a long time. Vincent never comes back. Richard doesn't need to be told. He already knows. Both of them are gone now. He's the only one left. He rides back to the house. He doesn't want to spend a single moment more in this place. He calls the pilot and tells him to get the helicopter there in 30 minutes. Then he steps into the bathroom to shower. And then he hears something. A sound, somewhere in the house. He grabs his gun, moves room by room, sweeps outside and all around the property. Nothing. No one. He heads back inside. And then he sees her, standing just outside the window, gun pressed to the glass, aimed directly at him. He barely opens his mouth before she fires. The bullet hits him in the stomach, and he doubles over. He pushes through the pain and returns fire, sending bullets flying through the room. Jennifer dives behind a sofa, and the shots tear through the air above her head. Richard is in bad shape now. He drops to his knees and starts crawling, dragging himself through the house until he finds a corner to hide in. Jennifer follows the blood. She tracks it carefully, moving from room to room, and when she reaches the place where he's hiding, she notices the blood is still flowing, still fresh, pooling on the floor. She changes direction, goes at him from the other side. Richard figures out she's flanked him. He pulls himself into a room, grabs a plastic wrapper, and winds it tight around his wound, trying to slow the bleed. But Jennifer finds him before he can recover. She opens fire. He runs again. She follows, and slips. Her feet go out from under her on the blood-soaked floor, and she goes down hard. She tries to get up, fighting through it, but Richard is already there. He drives a blow into her, and she goes limp. He gets his hands around her throat and begins to squeeze. Jennifer's hand finds his wound. She presses into it, hard. Richard howls and recoils, his grip breaking. The second he lets go, Jennifer reaches for the gun, and Richard, still stumbling from the pain, steps right into her line of sight. She doesn't hesitate. One shot. Richard drops. Jennifer gets to her feet. She walks out of the house, stepping into the cool, open air of the desert for the first time in what feels like a lifetime.